Working as a hardware store cashier, he found himself holding the bloody microphone of a legendary singer who committed suicide in a massive rock band. Welcome to Iconic Lives. Today, we discuss the incredibly tragic story of Boston lead singer Tommy DeCarlo. Get ready for this uncensored tale, stretching from wild parties under the bright spotlights to that deadly cancer slowly gnawing at his fragile brain, and finally, to his absolute dark, lonely, and deeply painful deathbed.
Born in New York in 1965, Tommy was never one of those arrogant rock stars created for the spotlight. He was an ordinary, desperate man who dreamed big his whole life but could never reach those dreams. In his youth, he was sickeningly obsessed with the rock band Boston. While loudly singing their hit songs in his bedroom, he absolutely could never have imagined that thousands of women would one day worship him on those massive, glorious, and completely blinding global stages. By the time he reached his 40s, his life was a complete disappointment and a dump of faded hopes. He worked as a credit manager at a hardware store in North Carolina. Going to that boring office every day, wandering the shelves, he was silently rotting under the crushing weight of that ordinary life. His dreams were dead. Returning home, he was just a pathetic man singing to himself in his dark basement to fill that massive, terrifying void inside his deeply broken soul. In 2007, that horrifying news that shook the music world exploded. Boston's legendary lead singer, Brad Delp, brutally committed suicide by poisoning himself with carbon monoxide gas. This dark and tragic death fell upon the band like a massive, bloody curse. Tommy was completely devastated by this disgusting and desperate suicide of his idol. To express his massive pain and heavy grief, he carefully recorded a sad farewell song on his computer in a sudden moment of sheer desperation. When he uploaded this amateur song to his MySpace page, he was completely unaware he was approaching the terrifying and crazy turning point of his life. Band founder Tom Scholz was absolutely shocked when he heard this recording. The iconic voice of his dead singer had been resurrected from the throat of a hardware store worker. When Scholz instantly called him to the stage, Tommy's ordinary and pathetic life turned into a dark, wild rock star dream in a matter of mere seconds. Although joining that massive band seemed like a wonderful fairy tale from the outside, it was actually pure psychological hell. He took over the microphone of the legendary idol who ended his life bloodily by suicide. Appearing before thousands every single night, he was crushed under the ruthless comparing stares of fans. He was a desperate victim who never felt adequate, heavily struggling in the massive shadow of a dead man and distributing totally fake smiles on that dark stage. When tours started, that ordinary family man suddenly fell right into the toxic world of limitless orgies, heavy alcohol, and drugs. Young female fans were crushing each other at backstage parties just to get into the rock stars' beds. Tommy experienced a massive shock in this wild meat market he encountered right after the hardware store shelves. The dark disgust of the sex and rock and roll philosophy had begun to seriously threaten his highly pure and completely innocent soul. At night, while the noise of limitless parties echoed in luxury hotel rooms, he was experiencing a massive identity crisis inside. Every time he stepped onto the stage, he was a pathetic stunt double forced to wear a dead man's mask. He hypnotized tens of thousands with his magnificent voice, but when the concert ended and the lights went off, only a great nothingness remained. The crushing pressure of this fake fame slowly and ruthlessly rotted his deeply fragile mind and sad soul. Just to escape being a pawn of a legendary band, he desperately tried to find his own true identity. In 2012, he formed a music band entirely bearing his own name, together with his son. He wanted to escape Boston's massive and crushing shadow, to prove he could exist on stage on his own.
However, the music industry was extremely cruel. People only wanted to see him as an imitator of a dead man, and this highly tragic situation completely shattered his deeply fragile, sad heart. Nearly 20 years of non-stop wild tours were slowly driving his physical body into absolute bankruptcy. Behind those magnificent stage shows and loud applause was a man totally exhausted from fatigue, desperately trying to stand up with heavy painkillers. He was sick to his stomach of singing the exact same songs every night and constantly having to look energetic. This ruthless exploitation of show business secretly prepared the ground for that horrifying and deadly dark illness.
In the gloomy September of 2025, the fairy tale of his life suddenly turned into a very bloody and horrifying nightmare. He unexpectedly suffered a severe brain hemorrhage and collapsed in heavy pain. Rushed to the hospital, doctors urgently had to open his skull. But during that terrifying surgery, they faced a much more demonic truth. There were 2 deadly and aggressive cancer masses in his brain. The glorious life of the rock star was instantly ended by the dark angel of death. After this deadly diagnosis, that massive fame and giant stadium concerts had absolutely no meaning left. The ruthless tumors in his brain practically started eating him alive. The man who once thrilled huge crowds with his magnificent voice was now screaming in pure agony inside cold hospital rooms. The highly toxic effects of chemotherapy melted his body. Looking in the mirror, he saw a pathetic, melted, and desperate victim feeling the cold breath of death right on his neck. The most terrifying thing was that the family of this legendary singer, who gave concerts all over the world for years and generated massive wealth, had to desperately beg for money on GoFundMe to pay medical bills. That massive music industry used and completely exploited him to the end, but left him all alone and penniless on his sad deathbed. This disgusting event was the bloodiest and darkest proof of the ruthless and sickening reality behind that glittering rock world. In late November, the disease dealt him its final and most brutal blow. When he suffered another fatal brain hemorrhage, his body completely raised the flag of absolute bankruptcy. In that dark hospital room, accompanied by the cold sounds of machines, he fought for his life in a coma for exactly a month. The man thousands of women once went crazy to touch had now turned into a completely drugged, tube-connected, and ruthlessly rotting tragic pile of meat waiting to finally die. During the treatment process, it was revealed that those ruthless tumors had also spread directly to his lungs. Cancer was slowly melting the lungs he used to scream those legendary rock songs, just like a dark acid. Even breathing had turned into an unimaginable torture for him. The breath that once blew those magnificent notes into the microphone could now only produce a bloody, wheezy whisper of death. Fate had taken away his greatest weapon in a very painful and brutal way. The fake friends of the music world were nowhere to be found while he was grappling with death. Those who made millions off his back during his career left him alone to die in that cold hospital corner. He was seen only as a vocalist filling a spot in the band, his humanity and desperation completely ignored. He couldn't tell anyone about that great collapse inside. The heavy psychological agony of betrayal and oblivion was far deadlier than the horrific brain tumors crushing him. And then that inevitable dark end finally arrived. Just yesterday, March 9th, 2026, his exhausted and broken heart stopped beating forever. At exactly 60 years old, he passed away drowning in the ruthless darkness of brain cancer. That crazy fairy tale that started in a hardware store in North Carolina and extended to the biggest rock stages ended extremely tragically in a cold hospital bed, with painful moans and among his deeply heartbroken family's truly desperate tears. Behind his death lay a blood-curdling and mind-boggling demonic coincidence.
Tommy lost his life on the exact same day, March 9th, as legendary lead singer Brad Delp, whom he replaced after his suicide years ago. This death, coming exactly 19 years later, was clear proof that the bloody microphone of Boston's lead singer was cursed. The men holding that microphone could never manage to escape from the incredibly cold and dark embrace of a highly tragic and very painful death. When the news of his death spread yesterday, the fake condolence messages flooding social media showed once again how absolutely disgusting the industry is. The so-called stars who ignored him while he was on his sickbed, who didn't help the donation campaign, were now shedding crocodile tears using his name. He was a dead legend now, and they were making cheap advertising over his tragic death. This hypocritical attitude of fame was the most ruthless betrayal of his sacred memory. Tommy DeCarlo turned from an ordinary man chasing his dreams into a tragic victim who died fighting his own demons and those ruthless tumors in his brain. As iconic lives, today we exposed the dark truth of this man who was crushed in the massive shadow of a suicide legend, left all alone among fake friends, and died silently last night. He is a cursed rock star who found peace not on glittering stages, but in a cold, dark grave. Stay with the dark truths. Goodbye, friends.